Moving on now, it looks like France's military chapter in the Sahel region has finally come to an end. The former colonizer has handed over its last base in Chad to local authorities. In a military ceremony in the Central African country's capital city of N'Djamena, France had nearly 1,000 personnel in Chad and has now handed over the Sergeant Kossei Airbase near the capital city to the Chadian military. This was after it previously handed over the Abeche base in the east earlier in January and the Faya-Largeau base in the north in December last year.
The transfer of the Kossei base today marks a new stage. It is part of the French decision to end permanent bases in Central and West Africa. This structural change is necessary to adapt to the evolution of the world and the evolution of Africa. We are reaffirming our partnerships in a dynamic Africa whose youth carries a lot of hope. We must act differently.
Welcoming the definitive and complete departure of the French forces from the country, Chad's President Mohamed Idriss Déby Itno says at an event organized at the base that Chad was not breaking off its relationship with France. He added that Chad was only ending the military dimension of the cooperation with Paris. Now, President Itno also said that Chad must build a stronger and better equipped army, and further noted that Chad must forge new alliances based on mutual respect. Now, the handover of the last military base comes just 2 months after the former French colony in Central Africa abruptly broke off its defense cooperation agreement with Paris, forcing France to begin pulling back its troops from the country. The Central African country had given Paris until the 31st of January to withdraw from its territory. To give some context, Chad was a key link in France's military presence in Africa. It was one of the last countries in which Paris had maintained a large military presence. Soldiers and fighter aircraft from the former colonizer had been stationed in Chad almost continuously since the country's independence in the 1960s, helping to train the Chadian military. However, joining the anti-France chorus in the region, Chad's president, who has been in power since 2021, said the cooperation with France had become completely obsolete in light of the political and geostrategic realities.
Building on 66 years of progress since the proclamation of the Republic, Chad is fully entitled, and even obligated, to freely define its international relations, choose the forms of cooperation it desires, and conduct its defense policy according to its priorities. We have therefore decided to terminate this military cooperation to refocus our partnership with France on areas that will have a more positive impact on the daily lives of our respective populations.
Now, at its height, France's Sahel contingent had numbered more than 5,000 troops as a part of the anti-jihadist operation Barkhane, which ended in November of 2022. But now more than 70% of the continent has thrown France and its troops out. This is primarily due to resentment from perceived French interference in their countries. France is being kicked out by the military authorities in Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger, following years of fighting Islamic extremists alongside the regional troops. The West African juntas have pivoted toward Russia in recent years, which has been militarily backing them. Now, additionally, Senegal and Ivory Coast have also begun negotiating the withdrawal of French forces from their territories. Now, this has left France with troops only in Djibouti and Gabon, and reports suggest that the base in Djibouti, which hosts 1,500 troops, would soon be used as a launching pad for future missions in Africa following the forced withdrawal from the Sahel. But as France's military chapter comes to a close in the Sahel region, the question remains, can Paris improve its relations with its former colonies that have now turned to Russia?
We're calling this show Vantage. We hope you like what we put together for you. Touted as the minimum defense from that video. India's neighbors were the first to send The special edition of Vantage, live from the White House throughout this week. Yes, Hindu Mandir in we're on our way to Tel Aviv. City measure, but it's also the perfect way to drive.
I don't think that
Prime Minister of Bhutan, Sherin Thagbir. Welcome to
60% of the world's
office, Prime Minister Modi. Did the iron.
we were actually
How are you doing? How do you like? It's been 1 year since that meeting. Iron bars separate you from the outside. Out the vote effort. Trump had, it says, and at $4.3 trillion. 4.3 300 billion by 2030. That's what we need to tackle climate change.